here the microphones always, please.
Should I start?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm impressed, so many people interested in migration. Okay, migration, of course, is a topic which concerns all of us and which is really having an increasing importance. So the call in Horizon 2020 in Societal Challenge 6 on migration has specific objectives, but mainly to collect information, to provide evidence-based knowledge on the effects of migration, on social aspects, on labor, on culture, and to produce recommendations regarding the governance of migration, integration of migrants, protection of refugees, and strategies for addressing concerns in host communities. We also would like to address in the call solutions, how to enhance access to factual info by involving migrants in producing the information. So these were the general objectives of the call. This call, as you may know, Societal Challenge 6, is shared between DG RTD and DG Connect. DG Connect taking care of more ICT-related topics. And so we have one topic in this work program, which is very much ICT-related, and it's addressing the challenge of migrant integration through ICT-enabled solutions. So what is the context? What are the challenges? So integration of migrants is a challenge for public authorities and for local communities. So by ICT-enabled solutions and toolkits for the implementation of inclusion policies, we would like to alleviate the task of public administration and local administration and improve, on the other side, the life of the migrants. We would like to have data analytics and usage of simulation tools to gather information about cultural features, gender differences, skills, capacities to express the needs, and capacities maybe to access ICT. And with all this information to provide migrants information and easy access on public services and support planning and decision-taking systems at all levels of administration. So what is now the scope of the projects or the proposals we would like to see? It's to really to address the integration of migrants, so the understanding of migrants' personal and family situation, and based on this information, on their backgrounds, on their origin, their culture, their religion, to develop ICT systems who can support the public administration and the migrants. So proposals should address one of those three bullet points, either efficient management of migrant integration. So, for example, to match the skills which are needed in the member states or in the area where the migrants are, and those that the migrants can offer. And maybe to develop specific targeted training programs and creating specific decision support tools. On the other hand, deliver better and customized services to match the needs of the migrants. And third possibility is integration strategies to define and implement it at local level. So to enhance the perception of the integration of the migrants. There are a few additional requirements for proposals to be successful. So they should pilot at least in one of these 3 points above, in accordance with GDPR. As we are talking about collecting personal information, we have to be in accordance with the GDPR regulation and also with the existing EIDAS regulation for identification, e-identification of the migrants. We should consider co-creation, so involve the migrants in the whole process, Demonstrate reusability and scalability. So if you have developed a solution, prove that it is reusable in other areas and it's scalable at the European level. We should also address long-term sustainability. It shouldn't be a solution which is valuable now and not any longer in a few years. So migration is an issue which is a long-term issue, and so solutions shall be demonstrated that they are sustainable, that there is an implementation or a business plan to prove sustainability. Should also ensure the take-up of the solution by other users, potential users, and it's important to engage multidisciplinary and multi-sectoral teams to really address all possible aspects of the issue of the problem. So far to this scope, so what do we expect, which impact? So we would we expect new or enhanced ICT solutions and tools which facilitate the management of the integration of the migrants, so facilitate the work of the public administration, but also help the migrants to get integrated. Develop and deployment of processes and services for efficient identification and inclusion of migrants, so EID, according to the EIDAS regulation, and facilitate communication with migrants and their access to services. So we expect that the communication with migrants will be supported by the developed systems and that they have easier access to services like healthcare, employment, or other services they need to use. So far to this topic. Thank you very much for your attention. You have a few URLs where you can find some specific information on e-governance, not specifically on migration. I think now you can ask me some questions if there are some specific questions to this, related to this topic, before we switch on to the transformation O2 topic in the same call. Are there any questions you would like to address now, or later will be the possibility as well?
I think it doesn't. It's not on? It is? Okay, good morning, Stelios Stamopoulos from NCSR Democritus. You mentioned that in this call you encourage, or not just encourage, but required the involvement of immigrants themselves as part of the consortium and as co-creators. Under what umbrella do you envision this participation in terms of NGOs, in terms of public organizations that handle immigration issues directly? How do you envision their participation? And what happens with the IPRs in this co-creation process?
So the way you implement co-creation is open. You can convince whatever you would like to propose that it is a correct way or a feasible way to do and to achieve results. So there is no pre-definition of how you have to implement this. Your second question was on?
In terms of the co-creation and the IPR.
The IPR. Yes, the normal IPR rules for any project, Horizon 2020 funded projects, are applicable. So there is nothing special deviating here from the general rules.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, thank you. Then we can proceed to transformation O2. Okay, so this is the call transformation, also in Societal Challenge 6 of Horizon 2020. The general target or general objectives are mentioned here. So socio-economic and cultural transformation in the context of the fourth industrial revolution. So as you may know, the first industrial revolution, when steam was invented to be used. The second one, electricity, gas, oil. The third one, in fact, was nuclear energy and ICT, electronics. And now the fourth industrial revolution is called to be a fusion of a specific, of all those technologies, dealing with cybersecurity, physical, digital, and biological issues. So there is a lot of change. There is the globalization of the economy and the digitalization. And within this context, we have to provide evidence and policy options to mitigate or to support these trends, these transformations. So concerning the public authorities or public governance, we see the shift from customer-oriented to customized solutions. We also have the movement from closed to silos to the open government. So governance will be subdivided or broken down in modules which can be shared between public administrations or even cross-border between public administrations, or even shared with third parties. Also here we have a lot of topics managed by DG RTD, and one here specifically by DG Connect in the public service domain. So, and we're addressing here the transformative impact of disruptive technologies. So we know a lot of, or we expect a lot from new technologies, for example, blockchain, artificial intelligence, gamification, Internet of Things, and so on. So a lot of new emerging technologies which have a lot of, or announce a lot of, promise a lot of benefits. But what is the real impact of introducing such technologies in the public service? So what is the context? What is the challenge here for this topic? So we have to assess the potential benefits, but also the risk of using disruptive technologies in public administration. So what is the impact on the society, but also on the civil servants, on the processes, and on the way of governance? So acceptance is important for public administration and citizens. So again, co-creation might be an important aspect. And political, socio-economic, legal, cultural implications. So all aspects of impact should be assessed in pilots. So we come here to the request for the scope of the proposals. So disruptive technologies should be piloted in an environment, in certain application domains. The potential impact and also the benefits and the risk should be assessed for delivery of public goods. So we are dealing here with public administration. Again, multidisciplinary partners should be involved to really address or cover all aspects which can be of importance by introducing these technologies. Explore the issues surrounding the use of these technologies in the public sector. So really exploring all aspects which may have been impacted by introducing the technology. And of course also the long-term sustainability is an issue. So if solutions are being developed introducing disruptive technologies, they should be sustainable. The expected impact. So we would like to have public authorities enabled to develop pathways for the introduction of disruptive technologies. So by having assessed the risk and the barriers and how to overcome them, You may define a pathway how to introduce these new technologies. There will be enhanced knowledge on digital democracy, develop new ways of providing public services, boosting public engagement. So also the engagement of the citizen should be addressed, and contribution to developing of new practices, optimizing work processes, integration of evidence-based decision-making processes. So these are the impacts which are expected by such type of proposals. So far, this information on this topic. The floor now is open to you for any questions you may have.
SSH community, and will there be in the evaluator panel also social scientists for the assessment evaluation of the proposal, or only technologists?
No. Normally we try to have all skills available in the set of evaluators for this type of proposals. So there will be more than only ICT experts, for sure, yeah.
Hello again, it's Listomov from ICT-enabled. I would like to ask you how this call and if is related to the PCP instrument, and if the instrument itself can be the subject of the proposal.
No, PCP is not the instrument here. So
Yeah, it's a RIA. Yeah,
it's a RIA.
It's a RIA, but how does it relate to PCP itself? Because it talks about introduction of disruptive technologies in the public sector. Okay,
Yes.
PCP has to do with financing such technology and innovation in the process of procurement. How do the two relate, and how they play with each other?
So it's not here procurement which is financed. So PCP is pre-competitive procurement. So here it's more the development. So it's the RIA, the development, and piloting. So the pilot should be less important or less require less efforts than the development, because it's a RIA. So, but the procurement, it will not be financed. No, it's more a set of a consortium which will develop some solution and try out a solution. They will not buy a solution.
Yeah, I understand that, but is it anticipated that there will be a follow-up PCP action on proposals that successfully demonstrate the introduction of such disruptive?
It's not foreseen yet, no. It's not
it's
foreseen for Horizon 2020 in work program 2020. It's not yet there, no. But it's an idea we could take up. Yeah.
Thank you.
What is the good number of pilots? How many pilots do you aim?
It's not predefined. So what we say is a proposal can be appropriately address the challenge with a budget of 3 to 4 million. You can do a few small pilots. You can do one larger one. It's not predefined.
It could be one.
You can do only one, yeah. But at least one, because you have to assess your experiences with the pilot. Yeah.
Alberto Crespo from Atos. In these pilots, it is expected the participation as end users of public administrations of any level, local, regional, national, or even cross-border?
Yes. Should be for, well, it should be logical. It should be depending on the proposal. Yeah, you can do it on all levels, but you can specifically address one level. So it depends on how you define your proposal. But you should have multicultural, multidisciplinary, multi-sectoral team, but not necessarily on different levels. That when you say different levels, I assume you talk about national level, regional level, urban level. So that is not required to address all levels. So you can choose one.
Are the winners of the last year calls already published in migration and transformation, and does this influence, is this relevant for the new evaluation?
Yes, in the migration call there were 4 proposals successful, and they are now in the stage that they will start their work now December or January. For transformation, there were 2 successful proposals. Those 2 were addressing blockchain. The 4 in migration were addressing a platform to communicate with the migrants. This information will be public very soon. Yeah, I think in the next few weeks this will be online. And it's relevant in that sense that we, of course, would not like to have an identical or similar proposal. Yeah. So it's good to see what already has been selected for funding and then choose something which is different from that one.
Donald Morris from Reds Inc. in Dublin. Just to ask about the 2 projects that you funded the transformation, did you say they're both running pilots about blockchain, so the whole budget was focused on blockchain, is that correct?
They are addressing blockchain, but not only blockchain, in addition other technologies as well.
Thank you.
Robert Voigt from BOC. One question regarding disruptive technology. You say impact should be assessed, which means that it has already deployed and users are using it in order to assess it. But with a disruptive technology in a lifetime of a project, this is a bit difficult. So either we assess the potential impact in order to have a disruptive technology that goes for years, or we have smaller horizons of the objectives which we actually can deploy and assess. And how do you want us to set focus? Short-term, long-term?
Well, your pilot has to be on the short term, so that you can experience the barriers and the problems you may have and assess the benefits. But you should think of the potential benefits for the future as well, yeah. Okay. Any further questions?
Yes. So you suggested development and piloting. What would be an appropriate relevance between the 2? I mean, I understand this is not, the call is not about developing technologies. However, there might be some need for development. So what would you think would be, how mature should the technologies be, or how much you should focus on development technologies?
So the technology should not be developed, no? It is the application of the technology in a certain application domain. This is what is the development part, and then piloting it. So the technology itself, it's not part of this of this. It's not in the scope of this work program. Then you should address the ICT, the Light program. They are dealing with developing further the technologies. Here is you use the technology in a specific application, and then you assess what are the problems, what are the risks, what could be the impact on, in particular, on society and on people. Okay.
What do the pilots? What pilots are you expecting in cities, in whole regions, because the public sector is very extended?
it's up to you to propose something and to convince evaluators that it makes sense what you propose. It's not predefined, it's open. I think there are no questions further. Okay, thank you very much for your interest.